Florida is one of the states with a stand your ground law, but do you know what that means and how the law works? Today we'll take a closer look at Florida's stand your ground law with attorney Shannon Ligon from the Ligon Law Group. Hi, Shannon.
Hi, how are you, Kimber?
I'm doing well. So nice to have you.
Thanks for having me. This is so awesome. Thank
It is
you.
awesome. So I've got to tell everyone that we know each other from law school.
Yes.
It's always good to see you.
You too, you too. Thank you so much.
Tell us, can you summarize the stand your ground law?
So stand your ground law here in Florida was a response to the NRA's initiatives pushing legislature to change what's commonly known as our castle doctrines and our self-defense laws. So this is relatively new here in Florida because not since 2005 did our statutes change to now what's commonly known as the stand your ground laws. And basically what that does is by our statute and laws outlines who can potentially not get arrested based on what our self-defense laws are, whether you're in your home or defending yourself or others in case of unreasonable bodily harm, or if someone's using unreasonable force.
Okay. Why did the words imminent danger pop up in my head? Is that a part of the actual statute?
Well, in certain states, imminent danger, but you have to use what's called the reasonable person standard. So that's kind of what, in my position, creates the inherent bias because it goes on what's the defendant as their reasonable person. So what's imminent to you and what you feel is going to harm you or in some cases kill someone, you have to see what's reasonable given on that reasonable person's standard and if that fear is imminent or not.
It's pretty subjective.
I would agree.
How about people who are not in their homes? What should they know about the stand your ground law?
Well, here in Florida, I think it's important to note that we also have concealed weapons permits. So the stand your ground laws and I think just being reasonable gun owners and knowing our laws can help us to prevent some of these crimes and gun violence that happens. So when we're not in our homes, we still have, the same self-defense. And as we've seen in some cases outside of Florida, just like in Texas, attorneys can argue that this principle or the castle doctrine, depending on the state, should or should not apply outside of your home. So in Florida, I just want to remind gun owners and people defending themselves to be mindful of what, their recourses are to defend themselves, because right now you can only use the force that's used against you. So if I'm coming to hit you, you can't pull out a gun to kill me if you believe that I'm only going to hit you. So the force has to be reasonable and it can't, outweigh what was used against them. But again, I feel like it's very subjective, and that's why we see so much controversy in these cases in the media today.
And speaking of the media, you were recently on Court TV. Tell us about what you were on for and the outcome of that case.
So I've been working as a Florida correspondent for Court TV, and they've been highlighting some of these media cases, and the most recent one was the Marquis McLaughlin case in Pinellas County, Florida. That's where I'm from, St. Petersburg, Florida, and this hometown caught wind of this case because in this instance there was a video from the surveillance camera that was able to be retrieved. And in this case, the defendant was not promptly arrested, and it took almost 100 days, and it took the community and people just being so shocked that this person was not arrested. But in that case, the sheriff's office decided not to arrest the person based on our stand your ground laws. But it wasn't until the community stepped in, the protests, the family's attorney, Mr. Attorney Van Crump and Michelle Brainerd-Goolsby stepped in and created this frenzy for this person to be prosecuted. So again, I feel like it's very subjective, and that's why it's so controversial, because it's potentially inherent bias. So they just had the sentencing on that case yesterday, and they did find him guilty, and he was sentenced to 20 years. So in that case, stand your ground defense did not work, but it was controversial because it basically puts the law in the hands of potential police officers and sheriffs.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for sharing and explaining all of that and summarizing it in a way that I think is more basic than what we hear sometimes.
No
it's
problem.
A pleasure seeing you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
For more information on Florida's Stand Your Ground law, please do your own research so you're comfortable with this Florida law.